You walk into a furniture store looking for a new sofa. You find one for $1,200 that's perfect for your living room. The salesperson mentions they have a special financing deal. No interest is paid in full within 12 months. Sounds great, right? You figure you can easily pay off $100 a month and avoid any interest charges completely. But here's what they don't tell you clearly. This isn't actually a 0% APR promotion. This is something called deferred interest, and it works completely differently than you think. While you're making those monthly payments, interest silently accumulates in the background at rates that now average over 30% annually. If you have even $1 left on that balance when the promotional period ends, even if you paid off 99% of the purchase, you suddenly owe interest on the entire original $1,200. Calculated from day one, these are the credit card promotions that 82% of Americans don't understand. And 1 in 5 people who use them get hit with massive retroactive interest charges they never saw coming. This is the deferred interest trap, and it's designed to make you lose. Let's say you diligently make payments, and by month 12, you paid off $1,100 of that sofa. You think you're almost done. But life happens. Maybe your car needs an unexpected repair, or you have a medical bill. You can only pay another $50 that month, leaving $50 still owed. The moment that promotional period expires, you don't just owe interest on that remaining $50. You owe retroactive interest on the full $1,200 for the entire year at today's average retail card rate of 30.45%. That's about $365 in interest charges that appear on your next statement. Your $1,200 sofa just became a $1,565 sofa because of $50 you couldn't pay on time. And here's the kicker. If you had used a regular 0% APR credit card instead, you'd only owe a few dollars in interest on that remaining $50 balance. That's 27 times more expensive, Doc. This isn't some obscure financial product. Deferred interest promotions are everywhere. Synchrony Bank alone issues nearly 200 different credit cards across major retailers. You'll find these deals at Home Depot, Best Buy, Walmart, Macy's, and dozens of other stores. They're particularly common for big-ticket purchases, appliances, furniture, electronics, and increasingly, medical procedures. The language they use is carefully crafted to sound appealing while hiding the trap. They say, no interest if paid in full, rather than 0% APR. That little word, if, makes all the difference. It means there's a condition that, if not met perfectly, triggers a penalty that can cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars. Chi Wu from the National Consumer Law Center calls these offers traps for the unwary, saying the terms are confusing to the point of being a trap, and the numbers back up her concern. Only about 80% of people with deferred interest promotions manage to pay them off completely before the deadline. That means 1 in 5 consumers, millions of Americans, get hit with these massive retroactive interest charges every year between 2018 and 2020 alone. American consumers paid over $1 billion in deferred interest charges. That's $1 billion in unexpected costs that people thought they had avoided by using what they believed was interest-free financing. The situation gets worse. When you look at who's most likely to fall into this trap, a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau study found that nearly 40% of people with subprime credit scores failed to pay off their deferred interest balance in time. These are often the consumers who can least afford a sudden $300, $500, or $1,000 interest charge appearing on their credit card statement. and the interest rates keep climbing. The average retail credit card now charges a record high 30.45% APR. Some cards have pushed even higher. Victoria's Secret and Saks both charge 35.99%. The Furniture Row card charges 34.99% for new accounts. These aren't the rates you'd expect from legitimate financing. They're closer to what you'd see from a payday lender. To understand why this system exists, you need to follow the money. These deferred interest promotions are incredibly profitable for credit card companies precisely because so many people fail to pay them off in time. The business model literally depends on consumer confusion and financial mishaps. Lauren Saunders from the National Consumer Law Center puts it bluntly. These cards contain an especially risky hidden time bomb. The medical field has become particularly troubling for deferred interest abuse. Care Credit, which is owned by Synchrony Bank, has become the largest medical credit card in the country. Patients facing unexpected medical bills are often presented with Care Credit applications in doctor's offices, dental clinics, and veterinary hospitals. The staff promoting these cards frequently receive little to no training about how deferred interest actually works in interviews with investigators. Some medical providers admitted they were themselves confused by the deferred interest terms they were selling to patients. Yet Care Credit paid providers $12 million in 2018 alone to promote their product. When you're sitting in a doctor's office worried about your health and facing a large bill, you're not in the best position to carefully analyze complex credit terms. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that people use these medical credit cards for almost $23 billion in healthcare expenses, often under stressful circumstances where they felt they had no choice but to accept whatever financing was offered. A recent analysis of bankruptcy filings in Oregon found that Care Credit was the largest holder of medical debt in the state. The deferred interest system creates several specific traps beyond the basic retroactive interest charge. First, there's the minimum payment trap. The required minimum monthly payments are calculated the same way as any credit card, as a small percentage of your balance. But these minimum payments are designed not to pay off your purchase by the end of the promotional period. You have to calculate your own payment amount by dividing the purchase price by the number of months in the promotion, minus 1 month to be safe. Then there's the payment timing trap. Your promotional period end date probably won't align with your credit card due date. So your promotion might expire on January 3rd, but your credit card bill might not be due until January 15th. If you wait until the due date to make your final payment, you've already missed the promotional deadline and triggered the retroactive interest. There's also the payment allocation problem. If you have other purchases on the same card with higher interest rates, any extra payments you make will automatically go toward those higher rate balances first, not toward your deferred interest purchase. This only changes in the last 2 billing cycles of your promotional period. But by then, many consumers have already made financial plans based on the assumption that their extra payments were reducing their promotional balance. Some retailers have started moving away from deferred interest promotions because they recognize how problematic they are. But the practice continues to thrive because it's so profitable for credit card companies. The American Bankers Association defends these programs, with spokesperson Nessa Fettis arguing that the overwhelming majority repay within the deferred interest period and benefit from a free loan. But consumer advocates point out that the entire business model depends on that minority who don't pay in full. These aren't random financial accidents. They're the predictable result of a system designed to be confusing and to profit from consumer mistakes and financial hardships. The regulatory response has been limited. Deferred interest was actually banned in 2009 as inherently deceptive, but the Federal Reserve carved out an exception that allowed it to continue. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has issued reports and sent letters to companies encouraging more transparency. But these promotions remain legal and widespread. Meanwhile, interest rates have continued climbing. Even as the Federal Reserve cut interest rates in late 2024, about a quarter of retail credit cards actually increased their PRs. Store credit cards now charge an average of 32.66%, APR rates that would have been considered predatory just a few years ago. The contrast with legitimate 0% APR promotions is stark. A true 0% APR offer means you pay no interest during the promotional period. If you don't pay off the balance in time, you only pay interest going forward on whatever remains. There's no retroactive penalty, no hidden time bomb waiting to explode your carefully planned budget. By now, Pay later services like Klarna, Afterpay, and others have started capturing market share from store credit cards partly because they don't use deferred interest. These services split your purchase into fixed payments with no hidden interest accumulating in the background. If you miss a payment, you might face a late fee, but you won't suddenly owe interest on your entire original purchase. Consumer preference is shifting as awareness grows. A recent survey found that 53% of Americans now prefer buy now, pay later options over store credit cards, a complete reversal from just a year ago. Store credit card account openings have fallen in 7 of the past 8 years. While general-purpose credit card openings hit a record high, but deferred interest promotions persist because they're so profitable and because many consumers still don't understand how they work. Despite the negative trends for store cards overall, 43% of Americans say they're at least somewhat likely to apply for a store credit card during the 2025 holiday season, the highest percentage in 5 years. This suggests that the marketing for these cards remains effective, even as the underlying terms become more expensive and more dangerous for consumers. The combination of appealing promotional language and financial complexity continues to trap millions of Americans each year. For consumers who find themselves considering a deferred interest promotion, the math is straightforward but unforgiving. Take your purchase amount, divide it by the number of months in the promotion, and subtract 1 month for safety. That's your required monthly payment to avoid the interest trap. Don't rely on the minimum payment amounts. Don't use the card for any other purchases. And mark your calendar with the exact promotional end date. But the simplest advice remains: avoid deferred interest promotions entirely. If you need financing for a large purchase, look for a legitimate 0% APR credit card. Consider a personal loan with a fixed rate and payment schedule, or save up to pay cash. The apparent convenience of deferred interest. Financing isn't worth the risk of a financial disaster that can cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars you didn't budget for. The deferred interest trap represents everything wrong with modern consumer finance. Complex. Terms that benefit companies at consumers' expense. Marketing that obscures rather than clarifies the real cost. And a regulatory system that allows inherently deceptive practices to continue. Until these promotions are banned entirely or reformed, they'll continue generating billions in unexpected costs for American families who thought they were getting a good deal on that $1,200 sofa.